All at once, you lost your first name. You're a cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat. You're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news. They call you everything, but never a policeman. Maybe she's right.
Behind the fame and the calm exterior of Joe Friday, Jack Webb carried a secret he never dared to share until the very end. As he neared his final days, he revealed 5 actors he simply couldn't stand. People who stood beside him, then stabbed him the moment his back was turned. One insult, one smirk, one act of defiance, and he never let it go. Was Jack Webb the victim or the man who turned small betrayals into lifelong enemies? Let's find out these 5 names he exposed before he died. Number 1, Richard Boone, the man who declared war on Jack Webb. Richard Boone was the one actor Jack Webb never forgave because Boone did something almost no one in Hollywood dared to do in the early 1970s. He challenged Webb face-to-face on his own set in front of his own crew, and he did it more than once. Their feud began in 1972 during the production of Heck Ramsey, filmed on the Universal Studios backlot in Los Angeles. Boone was already a major television icon thanks to Have Gun, Will Travel. He walked onto the set with the swagger of a man who had carried an entire network on his back. Webb, meanwhile, was the executive producer through Mark 7 Limited, silent, stern, notorious for total creative control. Drama erupted almost immediately. Webb began rewriting scripts overnight, firing writers Boone trusted, and reshaping the tone of the show into something closer to Dragnet than a Western. Boone considered it sabotage. One morning in late October 1972, inside Stage 24 at Universal, Boone slammed a revised script onto a table and shouted, "You're strangling this show, Jack." Crew members later recalled the studio going silent. Webb refused to back down. He believed the show needed discipline. Boone believed Webb was stamping out every ounce of soul and character development. When Webb removed director William Wyard, Boone's longtime collaborator, the actor exploded, telling NBC executives that Webb was running the series like a military drill. The quote spread quickly through studio hallways, infuriating Webb. By early 1973, tensions had escalated to nearly physical confrontation. During a heated meeting in Webb's Mark 7 office on Lancashire Boulevard, Boone reportedly stood up, pointed at Webb and said, "I don't take orders from a man who doesn't trust his own actors." Webb later told colleagues Boone was unmanageable, a word he rarely used. The hostility became so toxic that by the final season, the 2 men communicated only through assistants. NBC executives later admitted that Heck Ramsey didn't end because of ratings. It ended because the show was a battlefield. For Jack Webb, Boone was the ultimate enemy, emotional, defiant, unpredictable, and unwilling to obey the hierarchy Webb demanded. And Boone remained, until Webb's final years, the one actor he truly hated without hesitation. Number 2, William Conrad, the betrayal that turned admiration into silent hatred. William Conrad never expected Jack Webb to cut him loose, and that's exactly why the betrayal hit harder than anything Webb ever did to another actor. Their feud didn't start with shouting or power struggles. It began with a single decision Webb made behind closed doors. A decision that blindsided Conrad and humiliated him in front of the entire radio industry. This story starts in 1951 when Dragnet ruled American radio. Conrad's booming baritone was the backbone of the show. He wasn't just Webb's partner on air, he was the one who carried most of the dramatic weight. Listeners loved him, advertisers praised him, and NBC executives expected he would automatically transition to television when Webb announced the TV adaptation for the fall of 1952. But Webb had other plans. Without warning, without a phone call, without even a courtesy meeting, Webb cast Ben Alexander as the new TV partner. When Conrad heard the news from an NBC secretary, not from Webb, it was more than a snub. It was a public humiliation. Conrad told a colleague at CBS the same afternoon, "Jack didn't even look me in the eye. He just erased me." That sentence spread quickly through the Los Angeles radio community, and once the press heard whispers that Conrad had been discarded for being too heavy and not TV material, Webb's resentment toward Conrad became permanent. Webb despised gossip, and he blamed Conrad for fueling it. Timeline accounts from sound engineers at the old Sunset Boulevard radio studios reveal that Conrad tried calling Webb twice in early 1953. Both calls went unanswered. Webb reportedly told his assistant, "We're not opening that door again." The bitterness deepened when Dragnet exploded on television, becoming a national phenomenon. Conrad had to watch week after week as Webb took the spotlight of a franchise Conrad helped build. That was why Conrad never forgave him. Webb, in turn, never mentioned Conrad publicly again. Number 3, Harry Morgan, the quiet partnership that slowly turned into a one-sided war. Could anyone have predicted that the calm, polite teamwork between Jack Webb and Harry Morgan would eventually crack under pressure and turn into one of Webb's most private resentments? Their partnership looked perfect on television, but behind the scenes, Webb never forgave Morgan for challenging him where he felt strongest: control. Their tension began almost immediately in 1967 when Morgan joined the revival of Dragnet as Officer Bill Gannon. On their first week of filming at the old KNBC lot on West Alameda Avenue in Burbank, Morgan paused during rehearsal and asked Webb if he could adjust a line to sound more human. Webb froze. Crew members later said he stared at Morgan for several seconds before replying flatly, "Say it as written." Morgan wasn't being rebellious. He was a veteran character actor accustomed to shaping scenes through nuance. But every time he tried to add personality, Webb cut him off. By early 1968, this minor friction had evolved into silent hostility. A lighting technician recalled Webb muttering after one take, "Harry wants to act, I want accuracy." The breaking point came during a night shoot in May 1969. Morgan requested a second take after stumbling through a technical line. Webb refused, demanding the imperfect take be printed. Morgan quietly said, "Jack, it doesn't play right." Webb's response, according to a sound operator on set, was, "It plays how I say it plays." From that day forward, Morgan stopped making suggestions. He delivered lines exactly as written, emotion stripped away. The show ran smoothly, but the friendship never recovered. Morgan later admitted in an interview, "Jack was a good man, but everything had to be done his way." Webb saw that statement as criticism disguised as politeness, and he took it personally. Though the two completed the series professionally, Webb resented Morgan's subtle pushback until the end of his life. Number 4, Robert A. Senator, the creative partner who became Jack Webb's most relentless rival. The moment Robert A. Senator challenged Jack Webb's definition of realism, their partnership began to crack. They were supposed to be allies, co-creators, shaping the future of TV drama. But by 1971, during the earliest development meetings of Emergency, Senator became the one collaborator Webb grew to despise for a reason no actor ever triggered. Senator questioned his authority in front of an entire room. Their first major clash erupted during a late afternoon meeting inside Universal Studios Building 24. Senator pitched a storyline involving a paramedic freezing during a traumatic call, a real case pulled from Los Angeles County logs. Webb rejected it instantly. "Paramedics don't freeze," he said. Senator pushed back hard, replying, "Real people break, Jack. That's what makes them human." That single sentence ignited a silent war. By early 1972, as filming for Emergency began on the Universal backlot, Webb's frustration grew. He claimed Senator was turning the show into soap opera sentiment. Senator accused Webb of stripping every script of humanity. A script supervisor who worked on episode 5 recalled Webb taking a red pen and slashing out 3 pages in front of the writing staff, saying, "Facts first, feelings second." Senator slammed his notebook shut and walked out. During production of the mid-season episodes, Senator inserted more emotional beats. Webb cut most of them in editing. Senator retaliated by visiting the set more frequently, standing behind the camera and telling actors, "Play it real, don't play it cold." Webb eventually banned him from the shooting floor unless invited. In late 1973, an NBC executive attempted to mediate. The meeting lasted 13 minutes. Webb insisted on strict procedural accuracy. Senator insisted audiences needed characters, not robots. Afterward, Webb reportedly told a colleague, "Senator wants drama. I want truth. We can't both win." They kept working together only because Emergency was a hit, but respect evaporated. By the final seasons, communication funneled through assistants. Webb described Senator privately as the man who turned realism into argument. For Jack Webb, Senator wasn't just a collaborator gone wrong. He was the one creative mind he could never fully control, and that made him unforgettable in Webb's gallery of grudges. Number 5. Herb Ellis, the first actor Jack Webb ever fired and the one he never stopped resenting. Jack Webb and Herb Ellis never recovered from the moment their working relationship imploded inside the cramped radio studios on Sunset Boulevard in late 1952. Ellis wasn't just another supporting actor. He was the first man to play Officer Frank Smith, Joe Friday's partner, at a time when Dragnet was exploding across American radio. And that's precisely why the fallout between the two men cut so deep. Their conflict began when Webb started pushing Dragnet toward television. Ellis expected to move with the franchise. After all, he had helped shape the sound and rhythm of Friday's two-man dynamic. But Webb had already decided he wanted a different face, a softer personality, someone more controllable. That man would eventually be Ben Alexander. The confrontation happened during a nighttime rehearsal in October 1952. Ellis questioned a rewrite that flattened his character's lines into what he called robotic procedure talk. Webb stopped the rehearsal, looked directly at him and said, "The lines are correct. Your attitude isn't." Ellis refused to back down. He told Webb that a partner needed personality, not just a badge number. That sentence sealed his fate. 3 days later, inside Mark Seven's office on Killian Boulevard, Webb informed Ellis he was being replaced. No negotiation, no explanation, just gone. For Ellis, it wasn't just a firing, it was erasure. In a 1960 radio interview, Ellis said bluntly, "Jack wanted obedience, not acting." That quote circulated in the industry, and Webb never forgave the implication. When Dragnet debuted on TV in 1952, Ellis wasn't invited, wasn't credited, and wasn't acknowledged as the original Frank Smith. Webb even refused suggestions from NBC executives to let Ellis appear in guest roles. According to one Mark VII production assistant, Webb said, "If he questioned me once, he'll question me again." Over the years, Ellis continued working steadily, but the resentment never cooled. He told colleagues he'd never received even a single phone call from Webb after being dismissed. Webb, for his part, never spoke Ellis's name again. Now that you've heard the 5 names Jack Webb could never forgive, what do you think? Were these actors truly in the wrong, or did Webb help create the enemies he feared? Tell me your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more stories just like this.